Yo, welcome to another episode of the Crane Kicks Lex podcast. We're back again. We've had so many of these in a row. I just feel like we're like building this massive momentum. Who knows? Maybe we'll do weekly forevermore. I don't know. But next week's Christmas. We're not doing weekly for Christmas. Sorry. I don't want to be a Grinch about it, but I know a lot of people are just gonna be dying because they can't listen to Crane Kicks Lex while they unwrap all their gifts in the morning, while their children are screaming in excitement, or fighting over toys. Whatever happens, right? Mine's usually the second one. So we are back for an episode because we had to react to some Super League stuff, right? We had some exciting Super League events. I know we're a few days removed, but that's okay. I'm still riding that wave. It's not dissipated for me. It's still there. I'm going to ride that wave probably through the whole break, but we'll get there. We're also going to talk just a little bit about our newest signings for the championship, as well as viewer questions. We had a lot of viewer questions, and I love it. I love whenever we put it out there being like, hey, what do you guys want to hear us talk about? What questions do you still have? It's great because half the time they align with what we're already thinking, and we're kind of like, oh yeah, that's what we wanted to talk about. But then it's nice because we get a couple little gems here and there. We're like, oh, okay, that's an interesting one. Throw in the mix. Let's kind of see what we can come up with. So we're gonna let those kind of help be our fuel for the fire as usual, which is really fun. So before we get into everything, Kyle's gonna be joining us here in a little bit. He's running all the way from one city to another. He's driving, but he'll be on here soon. We've got Jessica back with us. Dylan's here as usual. Jessica, how are you doing? What's up?
Doing pretty good. Excited for the holidays. Same with you, riding that high from the women's win we had recently, and yeah, just really enjoying that. Feels good to have a win under our belts.
Yes. Oh man. I don't get me started. I'm gonna start going on about it. Yeah, no, it was really great. Dylan, what's up? What's new, man?
Nothing much. Just trying to get all my Christmas shopping done, pretty quickly because it's rapidly approaching. I don't know about you
Yeah.
guys. Have you got yours finished just yet?
But would you consider yourself a last minute shopper or proactive, like shopping is done like fairly early?
I'm sporadic. I do it whenever.
Yeah. What about you,
I like to get
Tyler?
it done early. Like I,
Yeah.
I gotta have that peace of mind. Although, like admit, I'm really bad about stocking stuffers. I'm terrible about remembering to get stocking stuffers. It's the worst. My wife makes fun of me all the time because like I'll be running out last minute because I'm like, what do I put in the stocking? I don't even know what I need to like have in here, and I'm just not good at it. I'm great about the other stuff, like the regular presents. Boom, done in November. We're set. We got it locked in. But I always feel bad because stocking stuffers kind of falls by the wayside, which I know not everybody really cares too much about that. And I know some people like give actual gifts in the stocking. Like I don't know. I think maybe that's where like I get frozen is because my mom has always done like weird stuff in stockings, like the weirdest random things. She's like, a new toothbrush. I bet you needed that. Or hot hands. What if you get stranded on the side of the road and your hands are chilly? And I'm like, okay, mom, this is out there, but I'm going with it. Cool.
I'm similar to your mom, and I do like the random stuff.
Yeah.
With the hot hands, chapstick,
Yeah.
candy, toothbrush. Yeah, I've done toothbrushes, toothpaste. Yeah, I do the random stuff where it's like you wouldn't quite expect it to be a Christmas gift, but it's still useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of it is like surprisingly useful. I'm like, I'm not gonna use this, and then there's one day where I'm like, oh yeah, I am gonna use this. Although like the weirdest thing that she continues to get me every single holiday, and I have no idea why, is she always gets me like one of the little mini travel sizes of Axe body spray, and I've never used Axe in my entire life, and she continues to get it for me every Christmas in my stocking, and I'm like, Mom, I've never ever used Axe. What are we doing? And she's like, you're not extreme enough, and I'm like,
Are
what?
you sure she's not just trying to tell you something?
She might be. She might just be like, "Look, man, Old Spice isn't working. You need to get with the times and take care of that." I don't know. It's every single year though, and I'm like, "Mom, please. I'm not going to use this. What am I going to do with it?" Like, so just like go to a middle school and just leave it sitting on a desk, and it disappears within 4 minutes, and
There you go.
we're set. No, but it's good. I'm looking forward to the holidays. Looking forward to traditions and all that good stuff. I know we're gonna be doing like our awesome like yearly thing. We always make my great grandma's sugar cookie recipe. I don't like sugar cookies. Hot take. I can't stand them. But my great grandma's recipe makes the best ones, and I will eat like 4 dozen of them. And that is why I am the way I am, because I do stuff like that. But it's so good and it's so fun because, like, of course, the boys, they're horrible at decorating. It's precious. Right. So nobody jump at me right now and be like, they're little kids. Don't say that. It's precious, but I always like seeing the monstrosities they come up with the icing that they put on there. And I'm like, what is happening here? And they're like, this one's for you. It's supposed to be you. I'm like, what? That's me. It looks like a mutant off of X-Men that had like a really bad reaction to the whole system. But no, it's good stuff. Do you guys have any like traditions that are like your thing?
I mean, my wife and I, we usually make sugar cookies together. We usually decorate and stuff. Do that. We also do gingerbread houses. We both like make one independent, and we usually sit down and watch like a Christmas movie, usually Christmas Vacation,
Yeah.
and do that. Yeah, I would say that's kind of like been my tradition lately.
Yeah, that's good. Christmas movies, I feel like I always have my go-tos that like we have to put on when we're doing like Christmassy stuff. I
Yeah.
think I said this like on last year's episode when around this time. It's always got to be Jingle All the Way. Every year I have to like put that on. It's my number one. I just feel like it doesn't get enough love, and so I'm always putting that on when we're doing like the decorations and all that good stuff. And hearing Arnold Schwarzenegger just like go after Sinbad and fighting over Turbo Man just warms my holiday heart. Jessica, do you have any like traditions you guys do?
The kids have been loving Home Alone.
Mm.
Yeah, that's been one of their favorites recently. But Christmas morning, we always do. We'll have cinnamon toast and hot chocolate for breakfast. Like I think
Oh, nice.
That's the main one we've always stuck with. And yeah, other than that, it's kind of just
Business
whatever.
as usual.
Yeah.
I know you told me that you all escaped the Elf on the Shelf stuff. So
Oh
you're
yeah.
not living through like the terrors of like every night we're frantically trying to like figure out what to
No.
do with the elf. And
No.
now there's 2 of them. And I'm just like, oh man.
Yeah.
I
I
know we were
refuse.
gonna avoid it altogether until like my oldest, whenever he was like 4 or something, came home from daycare crying because he thought he was a bad kid because everybody else had an elf and he didn't. So, so
Fortunately, yeah. Fortunately, we haven't had to. None of them have come and been upset about it or asked why we don't. So I will
that's good.
take advantage of that as long as we can.
Yeah. I don't
I just
blame you one
I
bit.
just don't have the energy for it. I'm not that
No.
kind of mom.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Which hey, more power to you. If that's
Yeah.
what you love to do, you go for it. That is just not me. And
There's some
I'm okay
impressive
with that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
It really is. It really is.
I look at some things and I'm like, how did you even do this? Like, how much time did you have for that? And when did you do it? Like, because they can't see any of this. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's wild. Well, speaking of surprises, let's talk some Super League surprises. We finally did it, y'all. We finally did it. A win at home and a clean sheet. And not just like oh man, I need my blood pressure medicine type win. It was like a decisive, awesome win. 3-0 at home. Our first win at home, first clean sheet. I've been like beating this drum forever and ever. I'm like, okay, if we can get a clean sheet, I personally feel like that is like a signal. That is a turning point. That is a maybe we can start doing something. I kind of feel like we had like a little bit of another turning point too, though, because like Hannah Richardson had her best game by far, and like she was just on it. Like outside of the goals, let's just not even include the goals in the mix. She just really seemed to be in tune. The whole team did. It felt really good. It was like something switched, and it's kind of funny because before the match, everybody that works for the club, they're like, vibes are high today, man. Vibes are high today. Vibes are high. And I'm like, oh, I mean, yeah, they always are. Let's see what we can do. And they're like, no, you don't understand. Like they feel good. They feel ready. And I don't know what mojo was working, but it was the perfect stuff. What a game. let's like kind of like get into the weeds a little bit. Like Dylan, I know you were sitting over with the Railbirds. Jessica, we were sitting on the east side, right? We took advantage of like the little deal, right, where our kids could go do the training camp in the morning. And then afterwards, we had the discounted tickets, sat on the east side. That was the first time I'd actually ever sat over there, which actually they were good seats, especially because the sun wasn't like in front of us. It was off to the side. They were way better seats than I had thought. I'd actually never been over there, and I kind of underestimated how good they were. But I don't know, like Dylan, man, like over by the Railbirds, vibes had to be high.
Yeah, for sure. We had a good time. So like I brought a crew out, to do like some birthday celebrations. My birthday was Monday, but we did, like
Happy birthday.
I want to go to the game. I want to go to the game and, celebrate, and that's one way I want to do it. So I was like, let's get a couple of friends together. So we all sat in the Railbird section and we had a good time, and we were yelling, or at least I was, and I think some people
I
were
heard
joining
you.
in too. Yeah. But it was a really good time, and the team played very well. It was like a complete game for us.
Yeah.
One of those times where we played like beginning to end a complete game. We didn't have any unforced errors, no stupid plays, like nothing went wrong. Everything went our way. And I think this was a game where our best players played really well. And that's what we need all the time. We need our best players to play really well all the time. I mean, Maddie, didn't get a goal, but she was a contributor. And Shay, 2 assists as well, had a fantastic game. And, got Hannah, like, fantastic. Like, if that's going to be a sign of things to come for her, like, this is awesome. We really need to see more of this, and I think this is a good moral victory too, with the timing of everything. One thing I also want to note is Shin played really well. We moved her back to a center back role as
I liked her
opposed
there.
to I feel like her best performances have been in that center back role, and she played very well there. Just great team play all together. Just everything, like I said, top to bottom, complete game, great victory.
Yeah, I really liked the subtle changes. You know what I mean? Like you said, putting Shin at center back, I thought she did such a great job there. Like she's so stout with her defensive capabilities, and she's not afraid to take on anybody, and she's not sloppy. She's aggressive, but in a good way, right? And she has what it takes to kind of be that person that's going to take it to anybody that's trying to score, really slow them down, hold them up, take the ball from them, all the above. I feel last week when we recorded, we asked a lot of questions of the team, right? Amanda Allen's out, now she's moved on to recover, right? Because she had that injury that ended her season. She's no longer with Lexington Sporting Club. And so we were like, okay, like she was doing so great. Where's she at? We have an answer now. Hopefully she recovers quickly and well and is back on her feet playing in no time, wherever that is, whether it's Orlando or whatever. But we had been thinking like, okay, like we just felt a little out of sync. We had other players missing. It was just weird, right? We couldn't quite nail down what was going on and why we were out of our flow. And then now we have a change at goalkeeper, right? Skiba's back in. We haven't seen Skiba in a little while. Cox has been doing amazing. Skiba was doing great before that. Right now we have Skiba again in the mix, earning our first clean sheet, which is no small feat. We see a few other players kind of rotate in, move around a little bit. Grace Wisniewski is in 45 right after our halftime break. She did so good.
I need to point out that last episode we were calling for her too. We were like, where's Grace? We think highly of her. And for her to come out and score the goal was like sweet vindication. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like I almost feel like the game is everything that we talked about in the last podcast. Like all the notes that we made is like there was something that improved on that, or it's almost like they listened to it and was like, let's do what they say. I don't think they actually did that, but yeah. So if anyone here is a New Girl fan, I was
Love it.
thinking of like, okay, so to prepare for the podcast, like, what would I say? And it's just like when Schmidt read Nick's book, and Nick's like, "What are your notes?" And he's like, "I've got no notes." And Nick's like, "What do you mean no notes?" So no notes.
No notes.
It was just no notes. It was just a fantastic game all around. I like you said, the energy. I feel like it was just up the whole game.
Mhm.
And if there was a player that, as far as like substitutions goes, I can't remember who Grace came in for.
Corey. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Who's
right. That's
somebody
right.
we haven't seen a lot of, right? And she was in the starting
Right.
lineup. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it was exciting to see Corey start. And she played really well while she was in, like brought Grace in and she crushed it too. Like Shay, yeah, we kept possession really well. Like our
Mhm.
passing was awesome. It just felt like, yeah, we were just really on the whole time. So yeah, no
Yeah.
notes. No notes.
I think for me, that's like the biggest thing. We talked about that last pod, how our passing just was kind of aimless. It wasn't
Mm,
really, it wasn't efficient. We weren't necessarily being like, there's who we're going to, let's connect. It was like, let's just kind of see what happens if we send it that way. Maybe somebody will be there. Maybe they won't. We'll find out. Consider it a scientific experiment.
mhm.
But it happened a whole lot in multiple games. And then this game, it wasn't happening. Like we were seeing connects. And it wasn't like, frantic scramble for the ball. Let's just kind of like boot it off to the person to our left. It was like, I see you. I know where you're going, and I'm going to send this there, and you're going to get it. And we're going to just keep putting the pressure on. And it
Mhm.
was so phenomenal to see how much we were clicking. I think in the game, honestly, and of course, this is from somebody who's like obviously like watching kids at the same time, but I feel like I only noticed 2 moments in the entire game where I was even slightly like, ugh, this is kind of scary. What's going on here? But that's going to happen in every game, no matter how well you play. You're going to have a moment or two where you're like, oh, okay, that was a little dicey. But I don't think it was dicey because we weren't playing well. I just think eventually, law of averages, right? A team's going to find their chances at some point somewhere in a match, no matter how poorly they're doing, right? And I think DC had a couple of those moments, but overall we just weren't letting them control the game like
Mhm.
at all. Like we were taking it to them, we were battling. Man, like Courtney Jones, she was battling through some mega stuff. Like she was getting like beat up
Yeah.
constantly on that field, and she just was not stopping. Like she was relentless,
I
and it
saw
was
her.
so what?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw her after the game, and just said, I was like, "I'm surprised you made it through that game." She's like, "I'm surprised I made it through that game."
yeah,
It was rough.
yeah. Like that one where we had to have like the stoppage time because she got hit in the back really hard, and I'm like, oh man, and like I wasn't sure that she was going to be able to stay in at that moment, and ends up playing that whole time and crushing
Yeah.
it, like going toe to toe, like no no stopping or anything. But I think that's just kind of like this team, right? I feel like we've said this before, like that's this team. They're not going to give up. They're going to keep trying. They're going to keep pushing, even if the game's not going the way we want and it's getting kind of ugly. They're not ones to just say, "Meh, it's a lost cause. We're done for." And when we do have like our pedal to the metal, right, and we're pushing and we're actually having things fall our way, it's a lot easier to power through in those moments too. Because you're like, okay, we can't lose this momentum. We need to keep going. Like this is something that we've captured in a bottle, and we need to hold on to this tight. And we were doing that, and those goals, y'all, they were pretty. They were pretty. Like the first one from Hannah, like the connect too, like the layoff to Shay, and then Shay back to Hannah, and then Hannah just like sailing it in, and the keeper thought that it was going to curl to the far post, but it curls to the near, and you could just see her face be like, "Oh, I just guessed wrong," and she's like falling backward, and it was just a beautiful, very finessed goal. I don't know that you could ask for much more than that. It's one of those moments where you're like, this is what UK fans got to see those years that she was with UK. And now we're seeing it here at the professional level. And it's really exciting to see her reach that tier and to kind of capitalize on her potential like that and get a brace. And I'm telling you, I was certain she was going to get a Hattie. she had like at least 3 other opportunities where I was like, oh man, this is it. Like the XG on those things had to be wild because like I was certain she was going to score, and it just wasn't to be. But like I think it was just neat to see that hunger ignited in her, because you could tell it was like, I got 2 and I'm getting more. Like there's no stopping me now. Like I've got a taste for this, and now it's just voracious, and I'm going to get more of these goals on the books for us.
And I'm glad I kind of have like foot and mouth kind of thing, because I know there were definitely a couple games where I was like, I'm not so sure. Like there were just mistakes when it like little mistakes that Hannah was making in previous games, and so I'm glad I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see
Yeah.
her succeeding like that, and because she's a great player. But I was a little concerned there for a bit on like her overall performance. And happy I was proven wrong.
And I think we've seen that with like a few of our players, right? Where they have a few games where you're like, this is not going how I was hoping it would go for them. And you know, Hannah's had a couple of those games where you're like, oh man, like this isn't what she can do. I know she can do better. And, you know, I feel like every player at some point has kind of climbed up and to overcome that challenge, and then had their moment where you're like, oh, there they are. Like this is them. This is who I know they are. And you're right. It's cool to have that second where you're like, oh, thank goodness I was wrong, and that's not like something that's just going to plague them, and they're going to, you know, rise above it. That was a moment for her. Dylan, I think you were going to say something, man.
Yeah. I mean, last episode I said, I think one of the questions was, what do we need to go out and get? Or, you know, what is the team like weak on? And I said the left wing position.
Mm-hmm.
And so she came out and proved to me that I was wrong. So I'll eat crow, you know, and I'll happily eat crow. I love that, you know, I don't mind to be wrong. You know, I am the pessimist on the podcast. So I literally do not mind to be proven wrong. So in this case scenario, it benefits us all. And yeah, she was outstanding. Great team play from her as well. Like it wasn't just her scoring; it was her ability to recognize the open spaces and connect with Shay on those, and just good awareness. So great work from her. And Tyler, there's only like 3 moments where we felt like scared or whatever. I think all those moments were probably very early in the game.
Yeah.
The number 3 on DC, Susanna Fredericks, she was running down their right side, our left side, and she was making crosses that were really dangerous. And like it was like whoa, and then I think collectively they started to talk a little bit more to each other. I definitely saw more from Skiba talking to her back line more as the game progressed, and I think they just settled in more into the game as a team, and kind of just like, all right, we're in first gear, click it, second gear, all right, now we're in third gear, now we're scoring goals. You know, it was just like a matter of time.
And there was a lot of good fluidity with the team too. I think that's why we saw things like, you know, Shay getting the 2 assists, Maddie getting her assist, Grace being able to be in the position to get her goal, you know, Hannah, you know, capitalizing on the space for hers. Like it was a lot of really good hustle and clicking between teammates that made this happen. And you could tell they were feeling good. And, you know, I know people have said like, oh, wait, we're going into the winter break after finally getting this. We're going to lose it all. It's a long time before we play again. And that's true. I just don't know that this will fade. I can't imagine, like, as a player, you come off of a game like this and you let it just kind of settle to the point where you're just like, meh, I don't know. I think that we ride this wave all the way to the point when we come back and we kind of keep this going. I hope that's the case anyway. I just don't see it dissipating, because I know it won't dissipate for me. I'm ready for the next game. Like I think I'm going to be ready up until the point when we're on that field again.
One thing that I think helps this momentum as well is we're almost a week away from the match where we won, and we are seeing those accolades from that match. So the people were recognized for the team of the week,
team of the month.
Yeah, team of the month. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Team of the month. Yes. So just getting these accolades and the nominations for save of the month. There's so many of these. Is it save of the
I know
week
it's
or
just rolling.
Did Sarah
so,
win that or no?
So I think it's still
I know
going.
she
I think
was-
the vote.
Oh.
The vote's still live. Same
Yeah.
thing for like goal of the month with Hannah's.
Mhm.
Like, so we got lots of accolades up for grabs and some that have already been dished out.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like we're riding this good vibe wave, right? The
Yeah.
victory and the accolades that are coming because of the victory and the good play. So I think
Yeah.
we can ride this out into the next part of the season.
But good point though. Make sure you guys vote for Hannah's goal. Make sure you vote for Sarah Cox's save to get those accolades. And then shout out for Julie, Skiva, and of course we got Shay Moyer all on team of the month. 3 appearances. That's pretty awesome, and it's very well deserved. I think they've been hustling, and I especially really like seeing Julie on there because I think that she's kind of under the radar for a lot of people for as hard as she works. And so that was a really neat thing to see her get that accolade and be like, she does it. She just kind of does it quietly, but she's out there and she's doing this thing. So
the Railbirds tagged her in the post to recognize her, and they called her Miss Hustle, and I thought that was a good nickname.
That's good. She does hustle, man. She's constantly on. It's stellar.
I was gonna add being able to see her more closely from the side of the field that we were sitting on. Like, yeah, it was really awesome to watch. Just yeah, she was on it, and just the way she was reading them as they're coming down the field to be able to either cut them off or block their crosses and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch her play a little closer up.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Let's kind of pivot a little bit because there are some questions we have about the Super League in general. Like, we could go on about this awesome game for ages because it was great, historic on many fronts, right? We did have a question from Tim. He was asking, do we think that we have a winter break signing to replace Allen? And we'll save his other question for later that he had, but which I don't know that we can answer necessarily. But replacing Allen, I would have thought that maybe that was a possibility until I saw us utilize people that we haven't really used in this last match and be successful. The fact that we used a lot of players that we haven't seen a bunch of, and we dismantled DC so handily. I know DC isn't necessarily one of the powerhouses in the league. It's not like going against Brooklyn or Carolina or something, but I think that confidence is now there for those players, which frees up other players to play in other positions that they're capable of playing in. So as much as like that was a big loss to lose Amanda Allen, I don't know that we necessarily are going to be scrambling to be like, we have to replace her right now because of the way that everybody performed in this last match. I think that that's a good indicator of like, okay, I can trust them to play in these various positions and get some more minutes, which is going to let me kind of work with what we already have if I'm the coach, right? I don't know. You guys might feel differently, but that's just kind of how like I kind of interpreted this last match at least.
Yeah, I honestly could not agree more, and I don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah, same. I think you summed it up perfectly.
10 out of 10.
No.
Hold it up. Hold up the boards. You don't have boards ready, do you? Dang it. Whatever. Fine, guys. You can do fingers then. Yay, Tyler. It looks like I'm like finger painting on the screen now.
I can give you a finger.
Oh, just one? I thought it was 10 out of 10. Jeez, Dylan. We also had a couple other Super League ones. Moving on from like the shade from Dylan. John with the Railbirds, right? He asked if there are any college players you like to see Lex try and bring in. This kind of goes in the same vein as the Amanda Allen question, right? I don't know that we necessarily need to bolster things a whole bunch. We have a couple academy players that are still on roster. So if we're looking for youth, we still have them, so like Emma Johnson, Macy Barlow, they're here. I think that that's kind of like what we're rolling with. I mean, of course, you could really say anybody out of UK system you could pull in, right? Because we've had, and this also happens to go with one of John's questions about like the W League a little bit, but a lot of UK's roster was on our W League team at some point. A lot of them really good performers. So I feel like if you want to try and fish into those waters, you can maybe kind of test it, which I know you run into a few little things with college eligibility and things like that. And yeah, it gets kind of dicey, right? And I don't know at this point if many college players are going to be like, yeah, I'm going to forego what's left of this to go here and maybe stay on and maybe not, right? So I don't know. I mean, if we did get somebody, I mean, I'd love to see Michaela Woods back. She was an absolute monster on the pitch for us this past season for the W League. I mean, just scoring goal after goal. Like, she was ferocious on the pitch. I loved it. She was really exciting to watch. But yeah, I don't know that there's a need in my mind for us to go poaching college players at the moment. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. As much as I would like to see maybe Fishnick or Smekridden,
Yeah.
I think the way things are rounding out, maybe we can just find the talent that we have on the roster.
Yeah, I would agree with you, man. I don't know, Jessica.
I don't have as much to add to that. I'm not as familiar with college players, but yeah, I think just capitalizing on the talent that we currently have, I think would be, because we have other people that we haven't really seen play yet, so I think there's still a lot of potential in our current signings.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And John was kind of asking, like, do we think that someone could be identified at the W League Combine that could play for the Super League team? I think that kind of goes with a lot of what I just said about how we had W League players in the college system. We also had many of those that were graduating that actually joined our Super League team this year, right? So we had Weeks, Utley, we had JJ that's on the squad. Who am I missing? Who am I missing on here? I know there's number 4. Why is my mind blanking right now? I know we had another W leaguer. Oh, Trinity Watson. Trinity Watson. She's on the Super League. She was on our W League team. I do not think it's far-fetched for us to find a player in that combine that, like, Mike Dickey, Michelle Rayner, probably like, wait a second. Got a little bit of razzmatazz here. Let's pop you up in the Super League and see what happens. I think that's one of the beauties. And I was on the USL show earlier this week and I mentioned this. I think that's kind of the beauty of having a W League and a Super League team is you have almost double opportunity to kind of vet players and then say, hey, like, we kind of saw what you could do here, but what can you do over here? And are you willing to do that for us? So, I mean, yeah, I don't think it would be at all surprising if we come out with somebody from the W League, even if it's not necessarily this year, right? It might be that, they kind of are impressed by that player. They say, hey, why don't you come play W League for us? And then we see how they do in the W League system against, competition. And then preparing for next year, we're like, all right, I really think that you can do this. I think that you're ready for the Super League. And I think that would be exciting to have you. So, for sure in the realm of possibility on that. Anything to add?
No, yeah,
I feel like I'm stealing
mentioned
everything. I just stole everything, didn't I?
Yeah,
did it.
you kind of
Sorry.
did, but that's
I
okay.
know.
I mean, it's
I know.
concise.
I was riding the wave. That's my bad. Everybody listening, I was selfish and I'm sorry. Here's my public apology. It really, what was happening was Jessica and Dylan had slipped me a bunch of note cards beforehand and they're like, say this, do it. So they had all the answers. I just was the mouthpiece. That's all it is. So Super League stuff, exciting. I think that we're riding some good waves. We got this. We're going to come back into the spring season. We're going to crush it. Don't forget about it. This is the perfect time for everybody to kind of like get the information out, right? Tell friends. Super League's coming back. I hope that's the case. Anyway, let's move over to championship. Want to?
Woohoo!
Sure,
Let's do
let's do
this.
it.
Championship time. Championship time. Dylan, do you want to give us a rundown of the players that joined us?
Oh man, yes, I can definitely do that. What order do you want them in?
Dealer's choice.
Okay, I like that you said that because that gave me more time to pull them up. That's what I was doing. See,
I know.
everyone, I distracted you guys.
Illusion.
Okay, so we got Lucas Stauffer, Elliot Goldthorpe, Logan Ketterer, Marcus Epps, Devin Williams, otherwise known as Speedy,
Speedy.
Xavier Zengay, Milo Yosef, Dylan Borzak, and Jacob Green.
Heck yeah. So those are like 9 newbies right now that we
Mhm.
got going on for the squad. Out of that, we've only got 2 defenders. We got 1 goalkeeper. Everybody else is midfield, forward centric. A lot of forwards actually,
Mhm.
which I'm assuming we'll probably use in a variety of ways. I don't know. And then we got like our returners as well, just to kind of keep everybody up and remembering. We got our people that came back again from last year so far. I know there's a few names that everybody's waiting on, like Tim actually asked us, "Where's Nico?" I don't know. I don't know.
I
I don't
wish
know
I
where
knew.
Nico is. Yeah, I wish. Nico, come back. There's my plea into the Netherverse to see if he answers. But no, we have 5 returners that are back in the mix for us.
Yeah,
Jessica,
we
do you
have.
want to hit us with your 5 returners? Jessica, do you have the 5
Oh,
returners?
yeah,
My bad.
we've got Atez Diouf, Cameron Lancaster, Kimball Jackson, Yannick, what's his last?
Yankum.
Yeah, okay. And then Azad Liadi.
Yeah. I feel like it's a solid crew. Okay, so like it's weird though, because when we look at this, you start thinking like, man, that's a whole lot of attacking power. It kind of reminds me a little bit of last year where we have all this attacking power ready to go and an abundance of it. Kyle's here.
What's
Kyle,
up?
hey dude, you're just in time. We just went through just like the roster, who we got, who we're working with. That's it. So your
Right
timing is
on.
impeccable as always. It's just perfection. So let's kind of like jump into some stuff with this, right? So we got all these new signings in the mix. Um, Out of these signings, and this kind of goes along with another question that we had. We actually were asked this by Eric. So he was asking us, which of the new signings to the men's team do we see the potential to have the biggest impact? So we got lots of people. He is specifically thinking about our 9 newbies, right? Not the 5 returners. I'm assuming that's the way his question's reading, is that it's kind of excluding them. So we got these 9 guys that are joining this squad so far. Plenty more to come. Who are we feeling out of these 9 is most eye catching? Is probably the person that, if your gut was right, is going to have the impact on the field that we want. Let's get with I don't know, who wants to go first. I hogged like the Super League questions earlier. Dylan, you want to do it? He's
He's,
pointing.
po- he's pointing elsewhere.
He's pointing
I,
off the screen.
I'll
I'm
jump
pointing
in. I
elsewhere.
mean, I just showed up. I'll jump in.
Yeah, Kyle.
I mean, it's what I do like to see from the signings is like we talked about in the last pod. Expected to see some players with not only USL Championship experience, but maybe some MLS experience, and that's kind of coming to fruition both in like MLS Next and just the different pathways, I guess. But the one signing that I think can make an immediate impact is Devin Speedy Williams. I think is someone who like should right away come in and just be like a plug and play 6 for the team. Not going to be like super, stuffing a lot of the stats that like goals, assists, things like that a lot of folks pay attention to, but is a proven winner at the USL Championship level. Commonwealth soccer fans probably recognize him from his time at Louisville City, and he's represented the Jamaican national team. So he's just got a lot of experience and is a pro's pro, and has won, almost everywhere he's been. So I think
Yeah.
that's a player that I probably took the low hanging fruit there, just in terms of like someone who's going to come in, make an impact. I don't know if it's just like the Jamaican thing. I don't think it is, but it's almost like the Don Smart, like in year one, when it was just like, it's just a known
Yeah.
it's a known commodity. Like,
Yes.
there's not going to be a
He's been
surprise, I
around.
don't think.
No.
So going to bring some professionalism, and so that's a signing that I'm looking forward to.
That's a good pick, man. 4 trophies to his name that in the
Yeah.
USL. That's wild. Like, and that's
Yeah.
not a coincidence. Like, there's no way that's a coincidence. That, common denominator there. Speedy Williams, guaranteed it's a lock. We're winning trophies. It's in. Oh, wait. I was supposed to say that. Anyway, Dylan, who you got, man?
So I don't know. This is very, very hard for me to answer. I don't really know these people too well, to make too much of a judgment on where I think they are. Some of these guys haven't, had many games recently, a few of them, whether it's recovering from injury or whatever reason. So maybe there's not enough tape for me to make that much of a judgment, but I guess I would actually say Green, one of the most recent ones. I just think it's because it's a defender, and I think we really need defenders, and we keep signing forwards like you mentioned, and it's starting to scare me. And I need to see more defenders. So I think I'm just most excited about that. I'm also excited because of his experience level too, and
Yes.
I think he also has good size too. It's nice to see a defender with some height. What's he, 6'3"? Am I right? Or am I making this up?
I forget for Green. I honestly forget his height, dude. But I mean,
Okay.
you're right about his pedigree, though, man. Like, dude's been balling out since he was 17. He played for like DC United, like not like a reserve team either. He played for like the first team, and then had like over 5,000 minutes with Loudon in the championship. And like, he's only 21, so like, feel like it's pretty good track record to be that young and to have that much experience at that level. That's a really good pick, man. I'm not gonna lie, that's super solid, especially with like how exciting his style of play is. Like, that's quality, man.
He's 5'10".
Okay.
5'10".
You, you know what? Everything I just said, put it in the dumpster. You know what? I
No,
never
everything
said
else
it.
was right except for the height, man. It's okay. It's
No,
like
I don't like short defenders. I'm 5'10". We're not
but
tall.
fullbacks are a little different. You want your
Yeah.
center backs tall. Fullbacks, it's okay. You need them fast and aggressive, so it's all right. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm just being silly. Yeah, I still like it. It's still a good signing.
I like it a lot. Jessica, do you have anybody that you have your eye on, or that you're just kind of
Um,
like, man, this name kind of stands out for some reason to me?
I mean, when I played in high school, I was a keeper, so I feel like I'm always just kind of biased towards keepers. And so I'm excited to see Logan Ketterer. And kind of like we talked about in the last episode about people asking if we thought we might get some MLS, and um, it seems like he didn't get as much time with the MLS, but just the fact that he was up there and that, likely coming down to get more play time. That's obviously not trying to say he's not as skilled. If anything, I think that just speaks to his skill. And so, yeah, I think I'd be excited to see the impact he has on the team. And I know we were all I don't know when we'll get over losing them all, but we'll get there eventually.
Healing takes
And
time.
yeah, right. And so, yeah, I think he's the one I'm most looking forward to seeing on the team. And as far as like social media, he's been engaging as far as like sharing stuff. So it looks like he's also excited to be coming to LSC. In general, just with the comments that each of the players have made, they all seem excited to be part of this project is essentially just, I feel like, building this team from scratch. And so I think, yeah, seeing all of their excitement about that and wanting to be part of something new, and
I agree.
they want to succeed, is just exciting to watch, because I know we were all really concerned about losing so many people. So yeah,
That's
what I got.
good. And I agree. Like, he's really been more than just like liking stuff or reposting. He's like actively engaging in like a meaningful way on social media, which I mean, that's not like the end all be all for a player, right? But it is kind of nice to see as a fan. It is kind of like one of those things you're like, oh, like they're supporting our women's team goalkeepers with his comment that he made. You know what I mean? And it's always like fun, cool stuff. You like that stuff. You like to see it, right? And I agree, like seeing at least a keeper signed is a little bit of a sigh of a relief whenever you have nobody in the goalkeeper room. So like in that moment, you're like, oh, we have somebody with experience. It's not like we're going to wait till the last minute and just grab whoever's available. We have somebody. So I'm with you. Mine is actually probably going to be Lucas Stauffer, Kentucky guy, right? From Kentucky. I think that's really cool because they get to kind of like ride that narrative of like he's coming back to Kentucky, and he's not from Lexington, but it's still cool, right? He's from the States. He's familiar with the States and kind of the vibes, and so that's kind of neat. In a way, it's a homecoming for him. He's got experience. It seems like he was very well liked by El Paso fans. I know a lot of people are like, man, you guys got a baller. He's so great. And I was bummed because he was the most consistent player we had, and now he's gone. So that's a really good sign. Like, that's usually a pretty good barometer when you see fans of the team that you're getting a player from being like, no, like, you're like, yes, yes, this is my win now. And I just think he has a really good style of play. For a fullback, he's not afraid to get up and get in the mix to try and help create chances. He can do things on his own too. He's scored goals. He's got great footwork. I think that his footwork is awesome. Very exciting to just see him move the ball the way he does. And I think that's what you want out of like a modern fullback, right? You want these fullbacks that can be aggressive and have the pace to be able to get back on defense and make those recovery runs whenever they do get really far up the field, but still provide that extra little threat. So it's looking at his skill set. I feel he's got it. He's got what we need. He's got that consistency. He's got that reliability. He's got the speed. All those things that you want to check off on a box. Along with his experience. So I'm going to have to go with Stauffer, fullback. We got this. Of course, I'm ready to see some of these others. I'm kind of like Dylan, too. I'm over here wringing my hands over like, okay, what other defenders we got? Who else are we bringing in? What's it going to be?
Yeah, we need to stop signing forwards or Azad's going to need to learn how to play center back,
Oh, man. Imagine Azad at like center back. He's a big guy. Put Yannick at center back. Could you imagine that? Jeez. Now we're just like playing fantasy like football. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun, and like maybe we'll do that in a future episode. Reimagine players in different positions.
Shapeshifters. That's what FIFA Ultimate
shifters.
Team does. They do like the shapeshifters, whatever, and they put the players in different positions.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about like Wendigos or something for a minute, like off Supernatural, but now I see where you're going with it. FIFA. we're on the same wave now. We got this.
You were talking fantasy football. You were talking about like high fantasy football, like wizards and stuff.
However anybody wants to interpret it, we'll go with whatever. Yeah. That could be the way we go. So somebody also had a question. So Eric was asking us, do we think Boss will lean more towards MLS Next Pro signings or USL with the rest of the roster build?
I think he'll take what he can get.
Yeah, I don't know if it looks like based on some of the signings so far, just in the early stages, it's kind of been a mix, right? Like, I don't know if there's really been. I guess I haven't like ticked off, like the MLS Next or USL, but it seems like there's like if you would have asked me a couple of weeks ago, I probably would have leaned MLS Next just because that's where he came from, and like looking at rosters of like Austin FC2 and those type of teams, like. But it seems like there's been plenty of USL experience as well mixed in. And so I don't know if I think to Dylan's point, it's you kind of get what you can get. And all the players that we mentioned that we liked at least have that USL experience too. So I'm not sure if they'll be, remains to be seen because we're still have plenty of names left to go. But I don't know if there's really going to be one over the other.
Yeah, that's fair because even like Ketterer, and then we talked about Green, like they have MLS and USL. Like there's a lot of that going on this roster, like you said, man. So like I just feel like it's like who has high level experience and has the skills to go with it. So I'm sure they're kind of casting a wide net to think like, okay, who's available, who is like going to actually be realistically achievable to bring in from team A, B, or C, whether it be MLS Next Pro or Championship. So that's an interesting one.
Well, and based on what Boss has said, he wants the team to be like just very aggressive. Like if they don't have the ball, if we don't have the ball, we're gonna get the ball. Like no matter, like just keeping possession as long as much as possible. With all of the players that we've seen so far, have that type of play. Like just the videos you see of them, they're just the type of person that will do whatever they can to, set up those plays, keep possession, if they don't have the ball, if they're going to try and get the ball, So I feel like in that sense, he's been very strategic with the type of player they are.
Agreed, 100%. So like kind of thinking about like roster fill out as well. We saw some like academy signings being pulled up into the Super League. We've not seen a ton of that with our USL1 now championship team as of yet. So we actually had a question about that from Eric again. This one's from Mike. Like from the academy, who do we think would be good to add in and bring in with this team, if anybody? Which that one's kind of tricky because this relies on you kind of following up with the academy. And I think in the grand scheme of things, we're probably thinking like the UPSL team more than anything else, right? Because they're the ones that are kind of closest to that level. I don't know. Anybody have any thoughts?
Personally, I don't know enough of them to make a informed guess or to have an informed take on this.
Same.
That's fair. It's a lot of soccer to keep up with when we're going like with the USLC squad, the Super League squad, W League squad, Academy squad, U5 squad. it's a ton. I will say, like, I do wish Daniel Grider had ended up coming to us. He went on to Louisville. He's going to go play college ball for Louisville. I think he would have been a really great get. I mean, there's a lot of really good ballers on that team too. Like Brady Stockton is a defender. He's a big boy. He's like 6'1", 190. I really like what he does out on the field too from the UPSL games that I have watched. So I think there's a lot of talent that you could, theoretically say like, hey, maybe we'll kind of give these guys a shot. And I do think that, last year we did include them in trainings, and then there's some preseason appearances that a few of them got, which is good. I will say like it's probably going to be a little harder now that we're going to the championship to just plug and play and say, here we go. And everybody's going to say, well, Lou City does it. Lou City has a decade of this under their belt to develop players the way they want. So for them, it's like they have a very established system that they're kind of pulling these kids out of and being like, hey, we know we trained you because we've been training you since you were 5 and now you're like 17. So you have to have the skills down because we did it. We know you have it. So I think it'll be a while before we get to where we can just kind of like say, here's our new academy products. And we have full confidence that they're going to be okay, because not that they're not good players, but you also have to walk that tightrope of you don't want to put somebody out on the field and then crush their confidence, right? Or just completely have a disaster. And then you're that coach that threw them to the lions before they were ready. Because you always have that responsibility as a coach to make sure, like, are you actually ready for this, or am I just doing it for the optics of it all? So I don't know. Those are two names that stick out, although there are several other players that I think are really great. I don't know. I think we have to wade into the waters with our new team, especially considering we did a complete rebuild basically, and kind of feel it out.
I will say though, it is nice that the USL's like has that policy where you can carry more of those academy players like on match day, and it doesn't count against your like 18. So so like the opportunities there. Other than Grider, the Thomas Castro is one that like stood out to me as someone who's like been there from like the very start. And I don't know, I don't know exactly where he is sort of in like the pecking order, or where he was and now obviously moving up to championship, like you said. And another name, like I was kind of looking through when I got this question, looking through some of the fall scores and like, matches that were played. And Nadir Duick is a name that came up, and I was like, it looks like they've moved him to center back, and I like could have swore he was a midfielder at one point. So if anything,
right.
it proves that there's like there's a chance there to have like a bit of a playing ground to like test out guys at new positions. We've seen like a Kimball Jackson play in academy matches, right? Like you can get minutes for guys, who aren't getting the minutes at the first team level. So it's still a good tool to have. It's just you almost have to see what the first team looks like before you can really start working your way down, I think.
I'd agree with that for sure. But it's exciting to think about what the future could be. We want to see like these players like what Lou City is producing. You can just develop, they become awesome, and then you get to sell them to bigger, better things. And, then you get to reinvest that money back into like your academy and then continue to grow young players. So it'll just take some time. It'll take some time. But I think those are good shouts that you had too, Kyle. Names that have been around for a little bit and have had impacts on the academy side. Let's chat some schedule stuff. Okay, let's get into that. Schedule release was today. It was kind of like, I don't know, in my mind, it wasn't a very well kept secret that we were going to be in the West. It was always like, is it going to be Birmingham or Indy or Lou City? And, of course, you're like, there's no way Lexington's in the West based on them being in the mix too. Like, they're all further west. Why would we be? Well, I don't know why that decision was made. I can probably take some guesses, right? Like Lou City and Indy have like one of the most established rivalries in the championship. They probably want to preserve that. Who knows about Birmingham and their financial situation? It may have been that we were better off financially. I don't know. Maybe this is some weird hazing for championship. They're just like, all right, get ready to learn Mountain and Pacific time, buddy. And, and we're just going to have to power our way through this first year until we get maybe a couple other teams in the West, and then we get to go back into the East and everything's okay. But out of this schedule that we got, there were some bright spots that we had. We did get a couple of Lou City matches, got a home and away, which is good. So at least we get 2 of those derbies. It would have been cool to have even more, but we got 2 at the very least, which is great. I guess if you want to look at one bright side, we did a poll not long ago asking people like, hey, a lot of you all are Lou City supporters and Lexington supporters. Now that we're on the same tier, who are you going to support? Is it going to be both or exclusively one or the other? Most people answered exclusively Lexington, but that might just be because we don't have a ton of Louisville people that are just beating down the door. But there was a pretty sizable portion too that had mentioned they would like to support both unless there's a conflict of interest. Now there is very much less of a conflict of interest at play with us being in the West and them in the East. So I guess in one good like light for this all, you kind of have that preservation of people that are fans of both still kind of being able to be fans of both until things get down to the nitty gritty. And we have those 2 matches, or if playoffs become a factor. So there's that. I don't know. What are you guys' initial thoughts on the schedule?
Well, first of all, I was confused because the primary color is our away matches for some reason, and I'm not the only one who was confused. Multiple people have said to me that it was confusing as well. So maybe next time let's use our primary color for our home matches, because that is what we wear at home. We wear green at home anyway. Old man yelling at cloud. I don't know.
Kyle told me that once.
Technically, we wore black at home, but
yeah, but you know what I mean.
Oh, Kyle just actually you.
Well, excuse me. Push my glasses up. Shouldn't have said that.
Wait, are you making fun of me because I just?
Excuse me. Dylan, you can go ahead. I know you actually had another thought about the schedule.
No, it's a pretty good schedule. I mean, it has a good variety of things. I don't like the away stretches, obviously. I think we are like just screwed by the USL. They just really want us to have long periods of games and sequences. It makes no sense to me. Someone with the organization must have like a voodoo doll or a hex against them or something. You know, I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Like we have 4 matches away in a row, and then late in the season we have 3 away matches in a row, and that just does not make sense to me. And I know that
Well,
there's obviously conflicts with the women's team, and then you
yeah.
gotta think about basketball and holidays, and there's so many factors into this. I get it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, every team has a few like blackout days, and so I was really interested to see how like the Derby time would work. And actually, I think like that Thursday right before the Derby playing Louisville could like be really
Yeah.
cool. Like I
Yeah.
think the Kentucky Derby, that is, not the soccer Derby. But I mean, like so I'm thinking about all the promotions surrounding that. I think that actually could be like a really good opportunity. But the flip side of that is you're starting off the season 6 of 8 at home, and I know there's a lot of turnover in the league, but you're playing, some teams who were middle or bottom of the table. So I think I'm kind of alluding to a question that we got. I think there's a lot of opportunity right out of the gate. And I know in 2 seasons, we haven't necessarily had a track record of being like a fast starting team, but um, a lot of opportunity to get points early with 6 of 8 at home against some teams who were less than competitive a year ago.
Kyle, yeah, I know Kyle was
My 2
alluding
cents.
the question that he was thinking of, like that he kind of already brought up for us, which is good. We actually had a question about like what part of the season do we think is kind of like a make or break moment. That's a good point, Kyle, about that area. Mine is kind of like what Dylan brought up. I think
Yeah.
a little bit of our make and break is that weird, like what is it, June 28th all the way to July 19th. That is
Yes.
the most insane string of away games in a row I've ever seen. We go to Richmond. So we travel to Richmond, then we go all the way to Phoenix, and then back to Miami, and then out to Sacramento. Like,
And can we talk about
why?
these places are also hot as hell too in the
Yeah.
middle of the summer. Like this is just it's crazy. It's actually
Yeah.
cruel. The fact that they have to travel back and forth week to week, it's nuts.
It's just literally across the country multiple times, like 100%, not even exaggerating, literally across the country multiple times. And we've had our road struggles, but man, like I think any team would have road struggles if that's what they had to do in a 4-game stretch. So that one that one's going to be on my radar. How well we do there, because I agree with Kyle. Like if we can start hot with these teams that necessarily weren't like world beaters this past season, I think maybe that gets us on the right foot. But I think if we can show resilience in that away stretch, then that'll mean a whole lot. Especially considering like we come off of that against Louisville. We come back home to Louisville. like that's what makes it more diabolical. I feel like there is like somebody, like some evil genius somewhere, and they're like, how can we make this even worse? Make them play Lou City right after the stretch of road games. It's like, okay, so
And
we're
then
gonna
like the
travel.
reigning champs in Colorado, like
Yes,
back on the road.
right. That's what I'm saying. It's like, what the heck? Like, but I don't know. I don't. That's just gonna be a bummer. Hey, but I guess I'll just we'll deal with it. Think of the storylines. If we come out of this road stretch looking good, and then we beat Lou City right after it, and then we're just like, oh. Anyway, Jessica, I think you were gonna say something. I'm sorry.
Oh, I mean, I've just been listening. It don't necessarily have as much to add to that, but just other than echoing, even on like the Facebook championship page, there were definitely a lot of comments as far as Lexington being in the West Conference and how much of a struggle that's going to be. Just with the time zone changes and travel expenses, it'll be interesting for sure.
It's true. I don't know. It's just a tough one. I just and I know like we're kind of blessed where we have our own stadium. And so like scheduling issues aren't such a big deal for us. And I know a lot of teams in the championship are not in that boat. And so then that impacts a lot of like how the schedule is made as well, because it's like, well, they can't play this day because this, and this are going on in the stadium that they rent. I do wish that we could avoid these types of things though, where it's just a punishing stretch for a team. Like I feel like there's some way some way we could have worked that out to where it wasn't quite that intense. But I don't know. I'm bad at scheduling, so I guess don't ask me, and my opinion doesn't matter. So I just kind of wish it was different. But it's okay. But speaking of like us going out west, John asked us like who we're most looking forward to playing out west in our conference. So nobody that's out of conference. So that excludes like Indy, it excludes Miami, it excludes Louisville. But any of the out west teams, who are we kind of thinking like, you know what? I'm interested. Maybe because like you know a lot about them and you're just like, I think that'd be cool. Or maybe it's because there's mystique around that team and you're like, you know what? I haven't really watched them a lot. So I'm curious what's going to go down. Takers.
One of the teams that I like when I was hired with Lexington SC, one of the first meetings I set up was a meeting with New Mexico and their like communications and marketing team, because I thought like they just had like the coolest aesthetics. They have like one of the best brand identities. They are so in tune with like what that Albuquerque area, like the art scene, like they are just so locked into who they are as like a community. So I always like really admired what they did as like a, as a media team. Not to say anything about the on-field product, but I know last season they were pretty good. So I would say that would be my default answer, just because I was always, really impressed with their, just the way they were locked into their community and who they were. And I would say Oakland is similar in that regard too. But so I'll say New Mexico.
Good answer. I like that one. Jessica, who are you looking forward to?
I would probably Colorado, just because since they won this past season, just seeing how we do up against them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's always like a good little litmus test whenever you play the previous champions and just are like, okay, how can we do against them? Are we going to be okay? Yeah, I like that one. Dylan?
When looking at the away matches, I always think of the one that I would like to go to as the most like exciting to me. The thing I want to attend the most, and the most I would want to attend, is the August 1st one in Colorado. I just love Colorado. I had, good times there every time I've been in the state, and it's just really beautiful. And the team is really good and well established as well. They have a good fan support. And so I think going there would be fun, and I can make a good time out of it if I went to go see them.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'm gonna kind of throw a curveball at us, and I'm gonna say San Antonio. Just because, like, and the only reason I'm saying San Antonio is because we have pulled so many people from San Antonio, coaches and players, and so I think it would be kind of interesting for Lexington fans to just play San Antonio and see where all these people are coming from. And of course the team looks very different, right? They got a new coach, and they've got new players, but still it's just kind of a fun storyline in my mind to be like, man, we've always basically just borrowed from San Antonio perpetually. And so to go against them finally, I just think it's, I don't know, it's got a vibe to it, and then Otis used to play for them and he's still with us. So, maybe we can just kind of rub that in their face a little bit when Otis scores like 15 goals on them in 2 matches. It's going to happen, right? It's bound to.
So what's the worst road trip?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Let's just dunk on a city. Like, Tulsa. Who
you're asking me where I don't want to go?
Yeah.
I honestly, Vegas has never appealed to me whatsoever.
No.
Oklahoma.
Yeah. I like the Vegas answer, man. I'm the same way. Like everybody's just like, you got to go to Vegas, and I'm like, I don't know, man.
Do I though?
Yeah, it's like it's a bunch of rocks and just then they're like, here are lights, so you forget there are just a bunch of rocks. And I'm not feeling Vegas. It's not one that I would be
I've been. I'm not booking a return trip. So
see, so my assumption's correct. So Kyle is verifying that. No. So are we all just like choosing to dunk on Las Vegas right now?
I was gonna say
I'm okay with that.
This wasn't supposed to be an actual, and I just love how everyone jumped in. They're like, actually, I got a top 3.
Oh, I can name more if you want.
Those ready to go.
Terrible.
Sacramento, what even is there? Tell me.
Yeah.
Actually, I
Yeah.
will say that another one that just like I didn't even think of that about this till this moment, but Tyler, I know you're big on zoos. I don't know how you feel about aquariums, but Monterey
Yeah.
Bay, Monterey has like one of
That'd
the
be a
best
cool one to go
aquariums,
to.
and
That would be an awesome
I've
one to go
always
to.
wanted to go there. So you know what? I'm gonna convince my
I had
wife. That's my homework
I had
tonight, guys.
I had plane tickets to Monterey Bay, and then the pandemic happened, and I
Oh,
have
man.
not been. So I don't think I should be going on that one. I'll just
Maybe.
send me pictures, or
My
maybe I
wife
do
said that she
closure.
wanted to go to Monterey, so maybe that's just the CKL crew trip. Everybody's going to Monterey.
Hey, honestly,
Funded
maybe we should.
by.
Road trip.
Oh
Maybe
wait,
we
there's
should
not a
try.
sponsor to say funded by. Never mind.
Mhm.
I was waiting for a magical sponsor to appear, but like funded by, and then I'm like, whoa, it worked. We have all the money we need for plane tickets now.
Hey,
No, we don't.
We can. Hey, we manifested the clean sheet and the win. I
Yes.
think we can manifest
Manifest money.
a funded CKL trip.
That's what I'm saying. Oh man, that would be dope. How cool would that be though, to just be able to be like funded to go out and cover one of these matches live or something? Man,
That would be pretty
that'd
cool.
Honestly, it
that'd
would be my
insane.
dream.
I know, man, that would be super neat. But
Hey, if
dreams,
LSE, if you're listening,
yeah. Whoever's listening right now, just hand us a blank check. No,
I could say something about that, but I'll just say we're better off barking up other trees to try to get some travel money.
it's just because they believe in us so much. We're like, you know what? We know that you'll make it happen even without us because you're just that type of people.
Yeah,
It's just what it is. Yeah, I get it. I get you saying, man.
You got
I'm with
it.
you on the same wavelength. Yeah, it's good. No, that was a good question. I like the which one do you hate, Kyle, or which one you not want to go to. That's solid. And then I like how it immediately pivoted into us being like, wow, Monterey Bay is really nice. So sorry, Las Vegas.
I wonder how
Maybe
many
your wonderful
other
city.
podcasts are like, "Oh, we gotta go to Lexington. Ooh, like
Oh,
And,
I honestly, yeah, I feel that way, and I live here. You know what I mean?
yeah. Hey,
well,
I like this is Central Kentucky's not bad.
no, it's
We're in the
great.
Midwest. It's Midwest.
Yeah.
Well, according to the championship, yes, we're in
Yeah.
the far west. I
Yeah.
actually went and bought cowboy boots after they announced the schedule, and a bolo tie. So we're fully west. But then I also bought a longboard so I could cover the far west. So I'm covering all my bases. We got this.
You're gonna have to go to like Turkey to get your hair, so you get like the surfer hair.
Ooh, yeah, there we go.
I texted you all this, but SMU's in the Atlantic Coastal Conference now. So like with all the other conference realignment, college sports, like this isn't,
It's not
Yeah.
new.
this will wear off in less than. I mean, it's already worn off. It's just okay, sure, whatever. Yeah, it's not
This is
new.
totally unrelated, but geography is not really in the standards anymore in schools. Just that was a fun tidbit. It has nothing to do with this.
Unrelated.
And how all of a
Hmm.
sudden people don't know geography when it comes to sports. Anyway, but no, like I think it's exciting. I think it's good. I know there are mixed feelings about like us being in the West because travel is a little bit trickier. That kind of stinks. But I do feel like they gave us some relatively close games to kind of throw us a bone with Indy. Detroit City is in the mix. Lou City, we got a pair of those. So I do think there's a little bit of that, like, okay, well, at least here's this. And you have to wonder, like, if that was part of the talk when it was like, we're going to send you out West. And it's like, do we have to? Yes, you have to. Well, we better get 2 Lou cities. Okay, that's fine. So, I mean, I guess looking at the bright side of it all, we do have that and more money to spend on season tickets because you're not going to be going to a bunch of away games. So you might as well just come to all the home games instead and put all your money into that. But I do think in some ways, and I don't know, I might be like jinxing us here, but for somebody that's like pretty casually followed championship for the last like 3-ish years or so, the general consensus seems to be that the West is, people are going to come after me for saying this, the easier of the 2 conferences in general. And so I know Dylan's silently screaming. He had to mute himself so you couldn't hear him scream at me. For anybody that's not watching,
I'm getting so mad right now.
Maybe we get to go in and make a splash.
you jinxed it.
You
I
can't
know.
do this to me again.
I I know. I'm sorry.
We
I
can't count
did
our
the thing.
chickens before they hatch.
You know what?
We have to just see. We just have to let it build up and see. We can't just assume that we're going to take over the West with
Oh,
a
I didn't
new
say that.
coach,
I didn't say we're taking
brand new
over.
roster.
Nobody said we're taking over. Joke's on you, Dylan. I can't count, so I don't even know how many chickens are here.
Geography and maths, they're cutting those out.
Just know I'm not cleaning the coop. So I don't know. I'm excited though, no matter the fact that we're in the East or West. Either way, I mean, it's cool to be in the championship and then get what we get. And those Lou City games are gonna be fun. I think it'd be really awesome if we have like a really good contingent of Lexington fans that go to Louisville. I know that a couple people that are Louisville fans have talked about getting a big group together to come here for a match whenever they play us. So I think that'll be exciting. And, I think it has the potential to be a really like fun rivalry. I know like there's a lot of like super intense, I don't want to say hatred, but I mean, let's be honest, it gets kind of crazy sometimes between UK and U of L. I think this might have a little bit more potential to be more of like a, we're going to keep kind of jabbing each other a little bit here and there. But at the end of the day, it's good for the sport, good for the USL. It's good for our cities. And so I kind of hope we can kind of have those vibes in these matches that we get with them, especially because they're so few and far between. They're so fleeting. And it's not like something we can just take for granted. And we're like, oh, that's okay. We play them 6 times this year. So, no, we'll see. You're always welcome here, Lou City people. You're always welcome here. Just might hiss at you when you enter the gates. That's it. Just what's wrong with these people? All right. Any final thoughts before we let everybody marinate on all the stuff we talked about?
I just hope
No?
we hear something about Nico soon. Whether he'll be with us or moving on to something, a different team.
Yeah.
Just hoping to hear something soon.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely, it's kind of a weird feeling knowing that at the moment we're just down to Ates and Kimball out of like the original, like the OGE players. It's just, we're down to 2. And that's like strange because I feel like whenever you start a team or you see a team start up, you're like, man, who's going to be like that player that just is there perpetually and becomes like the legend of the team? And I mean, Ates is kind of on track for that though, right? I mean, that to be fair, like Ates is a great guy. And then he's got like so many accolades that he's earned throughout the seasons. He has all these goal contributions. So Ates is for sure on that track, no doubt. So no shade at Ates at all. But I think it's just like it's hard for fans to see one by one all these year one guys just disappear. And you're like, oh, wait a second. Year one's gone. It's like a true change of the guard, right? But I agree with you. I hope we get something. I hope that they're not just teasing us. I feel, if he is going to be back, I think maybe like the team is just being the biggest troll ever to Tim Meadows with the Railbirds because he literally tags the team every single day being like, where's Nico? Do you have any Nico today? Did you know that today is the 7th year of the 7th decade of the 7th century? And if you put all that together, it equals 77 and Nico Brown is 77. So it would be kind of funny if the team was just being like, you know what? Let's drag this on as long as possible.
Make
and
him
then be
sweat.
like the last signing announced just to mess with them. So I don't know. There's hope, maybe, possibly. But I don't know. Guys, we don't have some soccer for a while. We still have signings coming out. We're doing player profile write-ups in batches of like 2 to 3. So kind of look for those to roll out bit by bit so you get to know a little bit more about the play style of some of the players. We kind of trimmed a little bit of like the background info since Lexington Sporting Club does a lot of they went to this college and played for this team, but we're still including lots of good information about kind of how they play and how they might fit into Terry Boss's system. So be on the lookout for those as they come over the next couple weeks while we're waiting for soccer to come back in. I'm going to plug all of our interviews, of course. Our 2 most recent ones were great. We had Shay Moyer. We had Maddie Parsons. Those were really fun interviews. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to those, please do. Please. Dylan?
Yes. So one thing I need to plug is our Discord because our Discord is going very well. We have a great community of people. I think it is a very well-informed community as well. So if you join, we make sure everyone is up to date on all the information, whether it is announcements from the club regarding like signings or whatever. We also like to put in the voting for when our players are nominated for accolades. We like to be, we're a silent army. We like to mobilize and get those votes out there. And also, it's the number one place for questions for the podcast. We come up with our topics, and I like to throw it out to the group and say, hey, what kind of questions do you guys want? And we always get a good number of good questions from the Discord community. So truly, if you want to stay up to date on everything LSC, make sure to join our Discord.
Yeah, and it's, aside from just like staying up to date, I feel like it's, like you mentioned, just a good community for people to kind of like learn who the other fans are in the community and be like, oh wait, I've seen your name before. I remember you posted this. And that's how I've met so many other fans. It's just like being like, oh yeah, I remember your face from your profile picture on that one time you commented. And so I think it's just another really good tool because of how active it is, like Dylan said, to just get to know each other. And then when you see each other at a game, you're like, oh yeah, I remember you. So it is a cool spot. It really is. And if you're intimidated by it, don't be. It's like super chill. You can just be like a lurker and just listen and
read. You can also customize notifications pretty well too. So like if you're like, oh, I don't want to get bogged down with all the notifications, you can you can mute the Discord and whatnot too. So it's pretty customizable.
Yeah, and just pop on when you feel like it. Yeah, it's good stuff. That's a good plug, man. Very good. So check that out. Check out our interviews, please, please, please. And also, I haven't really plugged this in a while, but it does help too. Like if you guys listen to us on like YouTube, Spotify, any of that, definitely drop like a rating for us. That's super helpful and in like expanding and getting more people involved with the club and kind of informed on the club. So, if you guys could do that, that'd be super awesome. Just takes like 2 seconds, literally just click a star and be like, I'm giving it 1 star because Tyler just says things. I don't know. Don't do that. Don't punish the group. It's all me. Give me a 1 star on my personal Facebook or something. I don't know. Not them. And then also just definitely try and get the word out too for the upcoming games. Whenever we do come back in action, it's not going to be long before the ladies are back on the field. It'll sneak up on us really quick. The guys are going to be taking the field a little bit earlier than what we're used to. So like March 8th now. So really it's going to be on us before long. And I know there are lots of ticket deals going around, especially for anybody that's currently a season ticket holder. And I can't encourage you enough. Like, I know prices have gone up. There's been a little bit of talk amongst people on social media about the price changes because there's extra game. We're in the championship now. Those types of things are factors. Don't just give up on your season tickets, though. Consider maybe another spot. I know like next year, I'll probably be sitting over like where the Railbirds are on the end line. It's a super good spot. It's fun. It's a weirdly awesome perspective on what's happening. You cannot beat the view when a goal happens on that side. So it's a fun time. If you're looking for an energetic place that's cost efficient, definitely consider maybe one of those areas of the field if you can't swing the others. If you can and you can sit midfield, go for it. We need people there cheering too. So definitely get those tickets in and do your thing. But we'll see, right? Everybody just kind of do what you can to support within your means. That's all we ask. All right, I think that's all the good plugs. Everything kind of taken care of. Going to be a minute till we have a lot of action to talk about. Everybody have a safe, happy holiday. Make sure you guys ask for all the LSC merch you can possibly get, and then just buy extra yourself to just gift to family members, and they won't even know they wanted it. And they're like, "What is this? Why are you giving me a horse shirt?" I'm like, "That's no horse shirt, Grandma. That's an LSC original horse shirt." And then she's like, "Wow, I really wanted to go to this game." She automatically knows what it is just because she got the shirt. So definitely plug the team. Everybody get out and support and have a happy holiday, guys.